Hello everyone, my name is Wolfgang Hankeln and I'm sitting here with Adriana Zingone from Italy. And today we're going to talk about the GSC14. First of all, please introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your scientific background.
Okay. Yes, my name is Adriana Zingone and I am a phytoplankton taxonomist and ecologist. I work at the Stazione Zoologica Anton Dohrn of Naples. And this is one of the oldest marine research institutes in the world. It was founded in 1872. So we have a long-standing tradition of marine biological studies. And since 1984, we started with these continuous observations in the waters of the Gulf of Naples with this time series at the station that we call Station Mare Chiara. And recently the station was accepted as a member of the long-term ecological research program, LTR. That is both is a network at the national level, but it is also international network. And yes, I am participating in this Genomic Standard Consortium meeting because there is this new initiative to launch these genomic observatories. And it's a great idea to try to have this genomic research performed at places where there is already a tradition of long-term studies.
So this is your first time, if I understand you right, at the Genomic Standards Consortium?
Yeah, exactly.
And what was the most interesting topic why you came here?
All the issues connected with these genomic observatories are very interesting and important. As a scientist, I'm excited by the idea that now we will have all this data available in the future. It seems relatively easy, but what I like most is that I will be in touch with other scientists that may have questions that I haven't thought about or the same question as I have, and this is a great opportunity to exchange ideas because the limiting factor in the effective use of this data is exactly the idea and the way we analyze them. We risk to have more data than we can analyze. And so for me, this is the most important part, to get in touch with this community.
So from your point of view, what should be a genomic observatory?
In my opinion, a genomic observatory should be a place where you use the genomic tools to solve questions that have been posed beforehand, maybe, or through long-term observations with standard methods. So it is the use of these new tools for solving old questions that is very interesting and important.
So now this initiative is a global one. There are many sites participating. What is your work at your genomic observatory site?
Well, I am a phytoplankton ecologist and I take care of this time series because one of the ideas is that by observing the planktonic system in the Gulf over the time, we can track possible changes and relate them to environmental changes. So it is very important to compare these kind of observations with other sites. And if we start collecting genetic information through these new techniques, and we have already started actually collecting filters and freezing them. But if you keep on doing that in an organized way and also intercalibrated with other places, we have the possibility in the future to compare data among places. And this gives a great chance to see the changes that are due to local effects or changes that are due to global scale effects.
So you mentioned already the big questions and the old questions. What are the questions that can be answered when you have these compiled data set which is globally collected?
Well, one question, one immediate question, there may be many, but one is the diversity the same at several places, at different places? And what could be the drivers for a higher diversity versus a lower diversity? And when I say diversity, I mean not only diversity in species, but also diversity in functions. What you have by comparing different systems is that you may see whether the species changes and the functions are the same, for example. or whether there are species that perform in a different way in different environments. There are several of these. questions that can be tackled.
And what are the drivers, and what do you think will be able to, based on this data, for the scientists to find out what are the drivers for these changes?
Well, the main, if we think about the long-term changes, the main drivers are obviously the climate change. So changes in temperature that in marine environment are particularly important, not because of their direct effect on organisms, but because they induce other changes in, for example, coastal oceanography or stratification and other factors that in turn can be really important for organisms. So this is one of the drivers. The other important driver is the anthropic influence on the coastal zone. And our station, for example, is only 2 miles of the city of Naples. So it is obviously impacted by the effluence of the area. And so coastal oceanography and how it can change is one part of it, but what we put in the Gulf over the time is another part, important part.
So who would you say benefits most from this initiative?
Well, I think primarily scientists, because their work will be more effective if conducted in a comparable way, if they can intercalibrate their tools and their procedures, means that they will have access to a very wide database for this comparison. And normally, obviously, people who, I mean, everybody who will get a better science done, I think science is very important for the society. We are all aware that the questions that we address as scientists are those that are more important for people to be answered. So I think a better science will benefit the society at the end.
So talking now about the infrastructure, there's a lot of infrastructure already out there, and this GOES initiative needs to be like integrated into already existing infrastructures and tools. How should this be done from your point of view?
Well, to intercalibrate the procedure and the methods is certainly a key issue. And I think that some discussion at this meeting has been very helpful in debating that. The point is that the methods sometimes are based on also on the question that you may have when you plan a certain study. So to intercalibrate would mean that probably you have also to agree on some questions at a larger scale, and those questions will require some homogeneous procedure. While on a side you could keep on carry out your research with different methods. Sure. So you just devote one part of your operation to the global scale observatory. That can be a possibility.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Now, coming towards the OSD, do you think this is a good initiative to get this whole thing started? And
yeah, for sure. The Ocean Sampling Day is a great idea to start the genomic observatory activities. And indeed, I think that there are so many networks nowadays, and to start a network with something actual that will produce data is a very good idea. And also from the intercalibration point of view, I think that it is very important, the preparation of the day. And we have already started with one sampling day, and there will be more sampling day before the Ocean Sampling Day that will be in 2 years. And this is the most important part, because there we will also be able to see what are the weak points of the organization and the weak points in our local organization, especially in terms of data, metadata that will be asked to provide. I think it's important and it's interesting since the preparation.
What are your hopes concerning the data that will be collected on that day? Do you think already based on that data it will be possible to answer some of these old questions?
Well, I'm a little bit skeptical on this respect, because I think that one single day sample taken at different parts is not enough to answer big questions. But certainly, if the data are taken in the right way and they are really comparable, then they will certainly give some insight in the actual diversity of the sites and help starting with the comparison and maybe refocusing the plans for another sampling week or sampling month or something like that for the future.
So you think it's necessary to have a time series? It doesn't. It's not enough to have one single day. It needs to be.
No. It's not that that we need to have a time series. But what is important is that maybe that you have to have a plan, and given a certain question, that you decide that on certain days you will not sample all over, but only in some stations that are close enough for the comparison, or also very far, but maybe with the same day length. So you refine your opportunity, your exercise. I don't think that you need always a time series, but the sampling plan should be tailored based on the question you have.
So for you, this is also an important benefit to the scientist, that you have the chance to work in a community effort and exchange in a large network.
In a larger community, and certainly for the training of new generation of observers, of researchers, this will be an advantage for sure.
So thanks a lot. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And have a good meeting.
Thank you.
For the rest
Thank
of
you.
the meeting.